Good morning, guys. Oh my God. Hasn't it been a hot fucking minute since you've heard this voice? Yes, guys, I have done a branding of M and K, Two Mums Talk Shit. Unfortunately, we have both decided to go in different directions. I am now coming to you exclusively as Mayhem and Organized Chaos with Mel, and the rebranding has started today. So yes, it's been a hot bloody minute, but I can tell you what, my life has been absolutely that. Organized chaos and bloody mayhem. Guys, I'm actually coming to you with a very controversial topic. Very hot topic also that the government want to promise, overpromise, underdeliver. And there's a lot of future plans around this, but nothing's really happening right now. And it has just irked me. I have thought about how to present this topic in many different bloody ways. But do you think I could do it? No. So today, I am going to give you a trigger warning. I am going to let you know this content is for over 18s only. How we record today, I'm not going to edit it. I might add a bit of music at the start, might add a bit of music at the end, but that's all my editing is. I'm just adding a little bit. Everything else, as it records, is how it fucking gets uploaded. And that's it. And I'm going to be as honest and as brutal about it as I possibly can. And this is me as a person. If you don't like it, guys, this is your warning to stop now, because it's just going to get deeper. Guys, the topic that I'm talking about, that is there is a crisis about it. No, it's not the housing crisis. That's to come later. Don't you worry. But it's more to do around the treatment and the situation, which is the biggest elephant in most rooms, mental health. Guys, I have been a sufferer for absolutely bloody years. I have had... My stories can go on for hours. I'm going to try and keep it short and sweet. But to give you a little bit of my background, I've suffered from depression, anxiety since the age of 14 to 15. Was diagnosed this at that point in time and have dealt with it on and off for years. The trigger for my mental health breakdown wasn't the sport that I was in. Wasn't the people that were around me. Well, some of the people it was, but it wasn't to do with my actual schooling or school bullying or anything like that. My issue and my mental health came from what my mother did to me. Now, I know you're probably panicking, it's bad, but it's, nothing horrendous. So my story starts with my mental health. I was literally getting ready for school one day. My mother tells me that I didn't have to go. I went, cool. Any kid wants a day off school, right? But this day turned out to be a day from hell. This is the day that caused me to have a mental breakdown. This is the day it caused me to end up seeing a counselor or psychiatrist, the one that can't diagnose much but can diagnose enough. We all know that one. My brain isn't working. But I tell you, this day ended up me packing up her belongings so she could leave. My two sisters were at their grandparents' place. I share different maternal father. So technically, one side of my family, I'm an only child. Other side of my family, I do have two sisters. But this day I was packing up her belongings while she sat in her room. She then loaded the trailer with the boxes that I packed of her belongings and everything else in between. The entire house. And I knew something was wrong, and all my mother told me was, I'll be back. I'll be back for you, and I'll be back for your sisters. I didn't want to go with her. My dad was here. My dad was my rock. That brings me to another part of my story. Anyway, she left, but she didn't leave until after my dad picked me up to take me to gymnastics training this day. I had a horrible time training. Horrible time of everything. And then one thing I can't remember exactly what it was, but, my coach said something to me and I just lost my bicky. The only words that I could actually reach to get out of my mouth was she's gone. She's fucking gone, all right? And I just went down into complete breakdown. That's my story of mental health and struggle, and I've struggled for years. So my mother walked out of me when I was 14, 15-year-old, and I was left with my rock, my person, which was my dad. I went through the cycles of, self-harm. Bring me to the day and age. There's more to my story, but that's another time, another dollar. My son has an altercation at school this day. Now, my son has struggled for quite some time with mental health. He's been bullied at school, so it's not the environment that I've raised him with, but it's the social environment, the social pressures, the social cues, to fit in, to be normal, to be whatever it is that, school kids want you to be these days. My son this day comes home, he has an argument at school. He has an argument with his brother. I get a phone call to say that neither of them want to be near each other. And my youngest one of the two wanted to harm himself. This is after years and years and years of bullying. And as you guys can hear, this is a very emotional thing for me. And I did say this is a trigger warning for everyone. We've gone through some things in the past. Times are tough. We get it. So my son come home this day after having had an altercation with his brother. His cup was overloaded. He could no longer take the pressures that everyone else was putting on him. So I called to get him help. Called 000. They responded. I understand that when you call 000, your cases are triaged. He wasn't in grave danger. I was able to support him. I was able to de-escalate the situation enough that they didn't feel that they needed to come under lights and sirens. He was then taken to hospital this day. And this is the worst time I've ever and really irked about how mental health is treated in a hospital. We're taken in by ambulance. I know I jump back and forth, but you guys will get it. So we went in by ambulance. We got there. We sat out in the back in the triage in the delivery bay. For not even half an hour, then my son's ushered into the waiting room. As he's ushered into the waiting room, they give us an envelope. I kid you not, guys. Inside this envelope is 2 pieces of fucking paper. One of them's about child mental health and what to do in a crisis. The other fucking page is a 2-page list of numbers and research that you can find on the internet. Guys, this is not okay. So now my son's in this meltdown. He's in this depressive stage. He's in this anxiety stage. Doesn't want to be around people. Doesn't want to sit in a room full of strangers, but yet he's pushed back out into the waiting room. We're left in the waiting room until 3 a.m. We got to the hospital at 9:30. 9:30 at night on the Wednesday. 3 a.m. on the Thursday. We are finally taken back. By 4:30, we are seen by a doctor. By 9 o'clock, he's given the option if he wants to be put on a psychiatric hold or if he wants to go home. My son opted to go home. I was a little bit hesitant, but I knew I could deal with the situation. Not once was my child seen by a crisis team for mental health in the hospital, but a phone call was made by the emergency department doctor for pediatrics to a psychologist that's somewhere else in the hospital or even another part of the state. I don't know. All I know is a phone call was made. We were advised that the psychologist needed 10 more minutes to evaluate the situation, and the doctor had to call back in 10 minutes' time. Doctor called back To the psychiatrist, no, not once has this doctor come down to see my son, to see who's actually interacting, if my son is socially, accepting and talking. And I'm doing all the talking because my son just is done. My son doesn't want to talk, doesn't want to communicate with anyone. By Christ, he needs help. But the help we're given is a referral to an acute treatment which has helped many, don't get me wrong, has helped many kids. But they're not the right one for my son. My son's presenting with these symptoms and needs to be treated now. We're in an okay state of mind now, but we still struggle from day to day with escalated thoughts. We have reached out, we have linked in with this service, and they've done another thing that has asked us to choose from another list. This list is a list of services to help my son. So my son now has to make another choice while in this depressive stage. As we all know, we don't want to make fucking choices at that point. We don't want to choose anything. And if there's a choice to be made, we know what the choice is going to be. And it's a devastating choice. So we are now on waiting lists. We were also told by the doctor at the emergency department that we needed to make an appointment with the GP. Made an appointment with the GP because my son's state of mind was okay that day. No further intervention has been done by the GP, which I get it, their hands are tied. However, more referrals are made for more support services. I'm still waiting to be contacted by most support services. Now I want to go give you guys a really, really fucking scary statistic. So the government has made, from what I can tell from the information that I've found, trust me, I've been in the rabbit hole for quite some time. I've been trying to work out whether or not to make this recording as my first recording, because then it puts a pressure on what the rest is going to be like. But I'm doing it. I'm here. I'm talking to you guys, and I have to get this out because, as we've seen in the news, 24,000 pairs of shoes were laid on Parliament House lawn. One of them, pairs of shoes, it's my husband's cousin. So as you can see, the kids already have a history of mental health in the family. My husband's cousin was an absolute amazing soul. He was a beautiful person. He did anything for everyone, and he was the life of the party. Much like myself. Much like my son. Scary to look at. But I know the mind that he's going through. The government have promised, or are promising, the Australian government themselves are promising $1 billion to go towards mental health. $1 billion to go towards mental health in the future. This is coming. Has it been done? I don't know. Can't find anything about it. Couldn't sit in the rabbit hole too much longer because it's only going to do my mental health worse. And as I sit here and I look at that figure of $1 billion fucking dollars, and to think back how I was treated in the hospital with my son, of given 2 pieces of paper in an envelope and told to sit in the waiting room. That doesn't seem right to me. So what is this $1 billion going to go towards? Well, the government's saying it's going to go towards 31 new mental health centres. But what about the current ones? What about the current hospital system? What about current support for GPs and emergency doctors to have a crisis team on hand for when people do come in? Now, I can tell you now, that day that we presented to the hospital, we were not the only one that presented to that emergency department. I can tell you now, there was at least a handful of not only children, but adults presenting, asking for help, that I fear and somewhat seen had been given the same treatment. Here's an envelope. Go and take a seat. Make some phone calls while you're there. Talk to someone. Who in their right mind is going to open the envelope and go, oh, cool, I'm going to go call these guys because I didn't think about Googling it to fucking start with. That's what sits in my brain. That's the image that's imprinted when I say, okay, son, I'm going to go get you some help. Let's go to the hospital. You want to do self-harm, I'm going to get you to a place where that's not possible, Where in a matter of fact, it's higher. Because you're ushered out into the room. You're not monitored. You're not sat in a separate area. You're not given a private room. You sat out with the rest of the population where you can sit there and dwell in your thoughts while staring at an envelope that literally all it says on the front of it is mental health. Or CAMHS. To me, that's not okay. To me, of a mother of 3 beautiful children with high functioning disabilities, that's not okay. And it's not even, it's even worse. And even, I can't even put words to that the fact that the government is planning $1 billion. I don't want to see where that's going to go, but I do want to see where that's going to go because I think it's going to go in the wrong area. If it's anyone else, they want to build these U-Butte facilities, but they're forgetting about the facilities that are already at hand. I'm trying to stay on track, guys, but it's very hard. What about the now? What about the help that people that present right there, right then? They need help now. Not in months' time, years' time, or when the next government election comes up. They need help right now. Current mental health is a huge, huge issue. I found a very, very scary statistic, guys. And the scary statistic is that 3,144 people have taken their lives since 2021. That is the latest statistic I could find. That is 3,200 too many. Way too many. And to think that the population of this and most of this are men, which are dads, their husbands, their brothers, their brother-in-laws, their uncles, mums. Mum's number one. Mum's the umpire when dad's not home. Mum's the nurse that when you get your bark off your knees. For those of you who are unsure of that, that's when you take skin off and, you have a bit of a cry. That's a sister. It's an auntie. It's a daughter. That's someone's lost. In that number, that is also including children that haven't yet experienced life because the social pressures or home environment weighs too heavy and it becomes a burden. Why is this okay? Why is this number being normalized and growing? This number has grown by 5. By 5 people every year. This is not okay. The daily statistic breaks down to 9 people per day. 9 people taking their own lives because the pressures of life are too much. They reach out, they get the same treatment of go and call a number. Go and talk to somebody. Sometimes that number, those people have already reached out for help and have been given medication and have used that medication to take their own life. Because why? They seem to be put in to this space of too hard. It is too hard to deal with. Because every person has a different problem that is causing the mental health. Believe it or not, there's actually a fucking institution out there. There is an institution that are counting this. That makes things worse. For me anyway. To think that they've got to hire a group of people to sit behind computers and weigh up how someone died. This institute is the Australian Institute of Health and Wellbeing. They have suspected reports of 573 suicidal deaths. Now, this is suspected suicidal deaths. This report is actually from January 1st, 2025 to September 30, 2025. That's this current year. That's 9 months. And these people are only suspected and not confirmed. So what does it mean for those that have been able to be confirmed suicide deaths? What's that number look like? Well, I couldn't find it. Not this year anyway. But as we know from the Parliament walk that they did for mental health, I'm sorry guys, but this is huge. And this is something that I can't sit on my hands and not talk about anymore. And just sit here and bite my tongue. 2,400 deaths. There is actually 2,400 this year that have been told, not suspected, but confirmed, of suicidal deaths in Australia. That number is just men. Brothers, uncles, dads, husbands. Mental health doesn't just affect one age group, one particular race, one sex, or one stereotype person. And the biggest thing that I see out there of people getting around and supporting mental health, hats off, guys. Because at the end of the day, I think the biggest thing to take away, if you can see someone struggling and they're not willing to admit it, just help. Don't have to have a conversation with them around mental health. Just reach out. Talk to them. Talk shit like you would any other day. Make that day a slightly bit easier. I don't know what the future is going to look like for anyone, especially me and my family. I'm hoping I can get my son the help that he needs so I don't end up losing my son. My son gets to live his life, both my sons, and even my daughter if she was to suffer from mental health as well. I would hope that I would be able to have the support and the contacts and everything that I need for my children and for me and my family and for every other family out there, that they will never have to go through this. Losing a loved one through health, look, like cancer, it's tough enough. Old age is hard enough. But not being able to say goodbye because someone just shut themselves out of the world and you knew you could have done something about it, that rains even harder. Then that leaves that person with PTSD. Or survivor's guilt. Because nothing was done. Or they didn't step in. And they live in this world of what if. So don't live in this world of what if. Step outside that comfort zone. Step out there. If you see someone struggling, ask them, are you okay? They say no. Ask them, is there something I can do to help? I know there's a lot of supports out there. I know there's a lot of help out there, but there's not a lot of help when it comes to someone trying to get professional help. And this is where governments shouldn't be promising money for the future and planning these facilities. The money should be coming in now. The money should be reinvested into the current facilities out there for that workload. I don't know if you guys agree. And I'm probably rambling right now. But it's a definitely scary statistic when we start looking at it. Guys, I do work alongside and support mental health companies. And I know those guys are overwhelmed. They're understaffed, underfunded. They're all non-for-profit. Do your little bit if you can. If your plate's too full, try and recognize the signs. Try and turn around and go, you know what, I'm not okay today. And that's okay. Take that day. Take that day as a wellness day. Maybe you call in sick. You know what? If they're really desperate, they'll replace you. Because you can know that you're bigger and better. Coming back to my son. I know I say to reach out for help, and I know I say all these things. Everything that I've said to do, I'm doing. I'm actively trying to help my son to find out he's okay. I ask about his day. Actually, in matter of fact, I ask about all my kids' days when they come home from school. Because a child cannot hide their expressions. As adults, we learn to survive. We learn to cope. We learn to mask. As a child, we haven't learnt that yet. Their faces tell everything. Their faces are a dead giveaway. Their posture, their body language is a dead giveaway that something is wrong. And the biggest thing I kept telling my son is every time I ask him, can I help? He kept closing me out. He kept saying no. But the biggest thing I kept saying to him, mate, I'm here to help you, and it's not weak to speak. Now is the time that you put your hands in the air and go, okay. Eventually, I was able to calm him down this night after letting him know it's not weak to ask for help. It's not weak to talk about your problems. He was able to allow me to take him to hospital. And that is the treatment I received from the hospital. So then he pushed back into his shell. So how many other people have done the same thing? I did ask if he wanted to be here today to talk about it. He said, no, Mum, you've got this. You can do it. Tell my story. Now, my son does have underlying other health issues. These underlying health issues come to a lot of things. Comes to environment that we're in at the time. Comes to the social pressures that he has. People picking on him for his race. For those of you who don't know, we're proud Indigenous people. I may not look it. I may not have the skin colour. My son does. And my son is. My son is an active, proud Indigenous man of this country. We have Indigenous family running back millennia. My husband has Indigenous persons and an Indigenous background. And we are proud. The day that he come home telling me that he was racially slurred against at school, that hasn't helped his mental health. The amount of people telling him to go have a wash because he was dirty. My skin is dark. My son's skin is dark, but not as dark as you would think. My son coming home telling me, I've been picked on again. Such and such called me this. Such and such said that. A kid pushed me off the table and tried to start a fight with me. Tried to stomp on my head, tried to kick me. I said, mate, did you report it? Because that's all they're encouraged to do. But these tiny little moments that happen at school and these social pressures take their toll. Which is why my son is where he is. I'm not saying in any way, shape or form that when there's been an incident at school, my son is completely innocent. But I've always taught my son, both my sons and my daughter, that if someone wants to throw a punch at you, keep your hands in your pockets. Don't retaliate. And how wrong I was. And then my kids would go and tell the teacher and nothing would be done. I come to my boiling point a few months ago. And I finally said to my kids, you know what, it's time to fight back. Show them how strong you are. Show them how beautiful you are. And I tell you, I promise you, this end of the podcast, this end of this recording of me telling you this has everything to do with mental health. Because no matter how many times my kids have reached out being told they've been bullied, they've been picked on, they've had things thrown at them, they've had their shirts ripped out, they've had their belongings stolen. They've had their belongings stolen. They've had their shirts ripped out. They've had their belongings thrown at them. They've had things thrown at them. They've had their shirts ripped out. They've had their belongings stolen. 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 They've had their belongings They've reported it and gone through the channels they've needed to. Which what I should have done in the first place is go, well, if they want to do that, then you show them what you're made of. Don't let someone pick on you. If they're willing to give it out to you, you give it back. But instead, I believed in systems that are broken. So broken that I'm now left dealing with the health crisis within the mental system. I have now taught my sons, I should say, and my daughter, that if someone wants to sit there and throw punches at you, take your hands out of your pockets and defend yourself. 3 rules come to mind when this happens. I've always told my kids, don't be the first to start it. That means you can't have any antagonizing. You can't call names. Don't throw the first punch. If you are to throw the punch, make sure it's in defense. Be the second person to throw the punch, but make sure you're the last person to throw the punch. Make sure that one punch that you do get on them for self-defense is enough to knock them back off their feet to get themselves away from the situation. Not to cause harm, but enough to protect. Guys, let's support mental health. May it be in our kids, may it be in our adults. Doesn't matter what age it is, it doesn't discriminate. Let me know if you guys are struggling with this too. Because I think it's time we make a stand and we force the government and governments to, instead of promising these money and these actions, let's make it a force that they have to. Mental health is nothing to screw your nose up about, nothing to be ashamed about, but everything to shout about. Guys, I know it's been a long time since I made a recording. I know this recording was triggering for some, but this is just the dusting on the icing. Just the dusting of the cake, the icing that goes on top. Let's make our voices heard, and I can't wait to see you next time. Welcome to Mayhem and Organized Chaos with Mel. This is my introduction, and we are only just going to tackle problems as they arise or as they piss me off. So guys, I'm going to see you here next time. We are at half an hour or just over. I thank you for listening, and I'll hear you on the next one.